you have a great swing. Obviously, you're a competitive player, and you know how to get the ball in the hole.
Yeah.
I really, love it that you don't have a lot of swing thoughts and mechanics, but it's taking that, taking your game to another level is about being able to do these kind of things, being able to hit that low wind shot, stinger, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, really good move. Let's go through everything that I see in your grip. So what I look at is compensations and manipulations, right? So it's like, do I notice an arm wrestling match going on with the hands? If there's some fight going on, then that means the hands aren't working together. So do your grip, and I'll show you what I mean by that. All right, so take your grip, take your stance, and then what I want you to do is just pick the club up straight in front of you right here and just tap it on the ground. Right, as if there's like a tee. You've noticed a tee there, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna hit my next shot, but I want to bang that into the ground. So to me, this looks pretty good. This looks like they're working together. There's no twist going on. You're not trying to like move all around. Exactly. So then do that same setup, and then your normal way, yep. And then go to the top of your backswing and stop, and then bring it down about halfway here, and then like this is the ground. Tap against my hand this way. Right, so this is showing me that your hands are working well. They're hinging and unhinging kind of on the same track.
That's really cool.
Right, so you're not thinking about how to do this, but you're doing it well, and you're doing it naturally. So if we go through the list, we're like, yep, satisfactory grip, checks it off. Complementary hand placement, right and left are working together. So then let's go to the next step. So go to your setup there. So if we look at this angle from face on, just set the club down there in the beginning. Right, pretty even weight. Shoulders are set up. If I kind of hold this across your shoulders, pretty level to left shoulder slightly up. I can tell here you maybe have a little bit more weight on your left leg, but your knees are in alignment going this way. Like you mentioned, this is something you try to do a little, try to get that right arm underneath there, which is good. So checks off all those boxes. The big one for me, when I check posture in the beginning, is heel-toe balance, right? So I'm going to put the camera back on this side, and I want you to do this exercise with your feet. So right away, as you set up to the ball, do this. So lift your toes up, kind of pick your toes up, and then pick your toes up. Yep. So what I see a lot of times is a player will come in and they'll be leaning on their toes. And I see it all the time, even with PGA Tour players. They'll set up, and their club will be right behind the ball, but they'll be on their toes. And then what happens is, as they make their backswing, their body kind of self-balances mid-swing, and now they can't reach. So they end up like hitting it, squirting it off the toe. So I like to feel like the balance is underneath the ankle, which yours is, right? So we check that box. So do your setup.
I think, it's funny. I think I used to be way more toey,
Yeah.
but since I've worked on really trying to like drive into the heels,
Yeah.
I've kind of moved backwards. So, okay, cool.
Yeah, golf is interesting. A lot of people will say, well, you need to have this like athletic stance as if you're like a linebacker in football or something and you're trying to get ready to run. It's not at all that way, because we have to create all the movement. We're not getting ready to jump or run. We have to start really level. So as you do your setup there, that's what I look at, is does your body look pretty even on the back and the front side, basically straight through the ankle underneath there. So it's not weight on the heels, it's not weight on the toes, it's weight basically right underneath the ankle.
Weight under the ankle.
Yep.
Cool. I like
So sometimes, like, let's say you've got an uneven lie, ball's above your feet or below your feet, your balance can get compromised. If you're really aware of that heel-toe balance, it really helps, especially when the ball's way below your feet, because the tendency is your upper body kind of fall down the hill. So when you stick yourself on the side of the hill, if you kind of do this with your toes and maybe hover the club in the air, it helps you to stay balanced.
Oh, cool.
And then when your body's in a weird position, maybe on the side of a bunker, something like that, you're going to be way more balanced, because if you're on your toes immediately, your balance is going to get compromised. So we check that box. That looks really good.
Cool.
So then the next one that I look at is at the top of the backswing, swing back and stop. Are you basically still there? right? So you didn't shift into the heels or the toes. You
Oh.
turned and you're still balanced. You can still do that same thing.
Yeah.
And slowly come back to impact when you do that. And you can double check, right? So do your setup. Kind of do your heel toe, okay, swing up and stop, go heel toe, kind of bounce your knees, okay, and then slowly come back down to the ball. Yep, if you feel like you're going to connect correctly in the middle of the club face, then that means your balance didn't shift midway through there. So the one thing that we want to clarify, just as you're thinking through this in your swing, you mentioned a couple things like going left or trying to not drop underneath. So what we want to always be aware of is we don't want to always solve one problem with another problem. Right? So a lot of times when you're coaching, and you know, I see this happen all the time, you can essentially prescribe something to your student that if they overdose on that, they've just created a whole nother problem. So what I would recommend is you always try to solve for correct. Always let the student know. A lot of times I wouldn't give my students the benefit of the doubt. I would say, oh, it's a big, well, in your case, you're dropping it way underneath and you're hanging back and you're flipping it and hooking it. Well, then we would just go to like an over-the-top casting motion to do the complete opposite. And it seems to work at first, but we're really not giving our students enough credit to solve for correct by giving them an extreme opposite. Gotcha. Right? So you can give an extreme opposite as a drill, but you got to make sure that the student understands what correct feels like. Because we don't really want to have someone have a hook and then and 6 months later we're fixing their slice and then we're fixing their hook again. Yeah. And then a lot of times students won't necessarily stay with the same teacher, or they'll go from one warm climate to another climate. And a lot of times what I find is a student they'll go to an instructor and they'll say, oh gosh, I'm hitting this big slice. But they won't, the instructor won't ask them, well, did you used to hit a hook and now you're hitting a slice? They just assume that the slice is always the problem. Well, then they start prescribing all these hook moves to somebody who 2 years ago had a massive hook. Without actually trying to get to the bottom of what's really going on, right? So just a couple things to keep in mind.
No, that's great.
So when you're making your swings, that's what I want to pass on to you is don't try to solve one problem with an exaggeration of another potential problem, right? So go ahead and do your setup. So in your setup, you talked about maybe kind of getting that, you felt like you started aiming left, so you would drop the elbow and the shoulder down a little bit. So swing back and stop. And then show me from here, like what's the move that you've been kind of working on to make sure that you don't drop it underneath. So what I would do, yeah, we'll show people in the video what you used to do. So swing back up and stop. And then you used to do what? The old one was like dropping it underneath here.
That club hangs out behind my butt.
Yeah.
Just flipping it.
Yeah.
No
So
lower body action.
Yeah. So then over time, then you did what? What was the next thing that you did?
Yeah. So I mean, I would say for a while it started to feel like even coming way out here and trying to drop it down the same path. I would say now that's kind of more progressed to being up here and trying to really start that lower body so that those hands can kind of drop out more on plane and then go. So that's kind of what I'm working on.
Yeah. So you just want to make sure that when you're focusing on maybe the hip turn and turning into that left heel, that now you don't start creating like this over-the-top maneuver.
Right.
Because that's exactly what people do when they first learn to play the game of golf, is they start this chopping move. And the chop actually starts because their hips spin too much. So the prescription that you have to fix the dropping in hook is actually like an over-the-top slice type maneuver. We just got to make sure you don't go so far as to go over the top and slice it.
Yeah.
So swing up and stop, I'll show you. All right, so as you get to the top of your backswing, then exaggerate that hip and that deal. So what everyone's going to see on video, and you'll see later, keep turning, is the club just came outside. And then you're going to release it, and then you're going to cut across it, and then that's going to produce maybe toe-y shots or pushes or fades, which it sounds like maybe you've moved a tiny bit toward a little bit of a push. So the good news is you've only exaggerated this a tiny bit. We just got to make sure we don't keep doing that. So when you are pushing it out to the right, you've basically overdone the prescription from before. So we got to nudge it back just a little bit, and I'll show you how to do that.
Okay.
So do your setup again. All right, so swing back and stop. Very good. Now start the hips going this way, and I'm going to show you something really interesting. See what's happening here with your head? Keep going. Keep going. Your eyes and your head are now going to the left.
Okay.
So this is going to be a real simple fix, because the feeling of the hips and everything is going to feel the same, but I'm going to have you use your head to kind of neutralize it. So do your setup. Swing back up and stop. Good. Now as you do your hip movement, go ahead. I want your eyes to stay back over here.
Okay.
Right? So that's a little bit different, because we want the lower body to clear and turn, but we don't want the whole column of the body to pivot and turn. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Yeah, sure.
So when you get here, because we see with our eyes, we see everything. Like I can see you, the cart, the camera, everything. We tell our brain tells our body to do something, and our eyes just kind of scan around and just let the body feel it. So you were going kind of here, and then you were like, okay, I'm going to focus on this, and your eyes can see the ball, but you can see the bill of my cap, and everything's going this way. Yeah, so that your head is kind of syncing up with the hip. That's why I said the whole column from head to hips is now pivoting this way.
So I gotta like set my head.
Yeah, exactly. So watch what happens here. If I go to the top and then I kind of pivot the column, everything goes left.
Okay.
But if I go like this and I turn my hips left, but I let my head stay behind.
And it'll feel like it's moving backwards. Huh?
Correct. It definitely will feel this way, but you'll see what happens to the club shaft. Instead of everything tipping and going over that way, because your head is staying back here, now your hands are going to come down more from the inside. So it's going to feel correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
So we'll hit a couple of shots like that.
Dang. New piece. Okay.
So it's very similar, but as you go through the ball, so go ahead and hit and then hold your finish position.
Okay.
Just hold your follow through. Yep.
Okay.
And we'll talk through what this looks like. Good. Stay right there. It's really simple. This is all we need. This is all we need.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to be looking at the world sideways.
Okay.
Right, so do your setup.
Okay. Good ball here.
Now grab the stick. All right, now look, after you get set, look back at the camera. Right, twist your head sideways.
This way?
Yeah, so see your eyes are now like in this way. And the bill of your cap is this way. In fact, it probably should be a little bit more there.
Wow.
Right,
okay.
now come back to the ball. Now look through downrange. See where you are there?
Yeah, it feels sideways. Like
Sideways, exactly. You're looking at the world sideways. Now, start just in front of the ball and finish your swing, but keep your eyes here. So keep going there. Right?
Like that?
That's different for you.
Way different.
Way different. Because what happens is, like if I'm setting up here and I'm looking at you and I'm supposed to be looking at the world sideways.
Right.
But what happens is I do this with my head. Look where my eyes end up.
Right.
I'm looking at it this way and the bill of my cap's this way.
Wow.
So all we have to do is on the follow through, just be a little bit more aware that when you're watching the ball fly, you're looking at the world on an angle. So do a couple swings, just like everything's going to feel normal. Just feel like when you're done, you hold your head there just a little bit longer. Yep.
That's so crazy. But it's a simple thought. With
Simple.
Right. You know what I mean? I can remember that.
Yeah, very simple.
Sideways.
Yep. There you go. Good one. Yep.
It's different. It's more. That was like more solid.
It was
believe it or
solid.
not, but-
Yeah, so do your setup and then just look down range and look sideways. So your whole head's gonna have a different feel. So just look down that way. Now your neck is kind of like softer on this side, right? And then you're gonna see the ball fly out while your head is turned sideways. So all you're doing is doing practice swings coming through, and you're just trying to kind of hold that position. Yeah, so do a couple practice swings and then just stay there. That's it. There you go. Really good.
Okay.
Yep. Just a little bit more of like a head position after impact. There you go. There you go.
Okay.
So what this is going to do is two things. It's going to solve for correct, which means you're not going to see, even those last two shots actually had a little draw shape to them.
They did, yeah.
Whereas the previous ones were a little bit more picked and a little higher and floaty.
Yeah.
Those were more compressed with a little bit more of a draw. So because you're holding your head essentially down longer, you're going to compress the ball better, and you're going to maybe take a little bit of a divot, because if you think about, like, if I took a measurement from here to the ball, let's say it's like 40 inches away, and then I come back to impact, but now my chin is up here, it's 50 inches away, I'm definitely going to pick it clean, right?
Yeah, you're farther away.
Exactly. So if I come down here and I say heavy head, like a bowling ball head, like let my head hang. Sometimes I think like listen to the shot. I want my right ear to be down, listening to the shot a little bit longer. Then sometimes I'll just say like look at the mountain sideways. Don't come
like
up.
Almost match the slope
Exactly. Yep.
of that mountain.
Yes.
With my eyes.
Yeah. So what this is going to do is it's going to give you more solid contact, a little bit more of a divot, but what it's going to do from your mechanics is it's going to stop you from ingraining too much of an over-the-top maneuver.
Right.
So it's going to feel similar, but it's going to clean up some of that.
Okay.
So try a few and just see.
So I don't need to think about keeping it back here, or should I still think about that a little bit?
It's kind of like if you're looking at the world sideways, maybe it takes care of all that.
Okay.
But in some cases, yeah, maybe you do. Maybe you have to think a little longer, like keeping your head back just a little longer through the ball. Yeah, there you go. Good. Yeah, and you'll feel it, like you'll feel it in your hip, you'll feel it in your back a little bit.
Okay.
As as I come through, and I'm like, the one thing I love to do when I'm warming up is a lot of spins like this.
Uh-huh.
And
I've
it kind
actually
of,
seen you do those for me.
yeah, I do them all the time.
Yeah.
And the reason is because if I'm doing this, like in my backswing, my lower back is stretching. And I come through to my follow-through side, and now my hip is stretching. Right?
You're
staying, yeah, exactly, right here, and I haven't changed my heights. So this would be a good takeaway drill for you to just kind of work on your shoulders. And there doesn't, like the shaft or alignment stick doesn't have to point at the ball.
Yeah.
It just has to kind of be very simple, yeah.
Feel the stretch.
Correct, simple and symmetrical.
Like that.
So across that left hip and into your glute, that's a stretch you probably haven't felt through the ball before because you've been in a little bit too much of a hurry to kind of come up.
Right.
So we're just going to hold that posture a little bit longer.
Okay. Now, did I hold it? Have I always held it in my backswing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Backswing was fine, but then you lost it into the follow through.
Huh. That's so cool. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. So like if you've seen pictures of your swing and you're going into your follow through position, normally, like if you're looking at the camera here, normally like if the picture was taken straight on, you would look like this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I've always
right?
makeup on the sleeve.
Exactly, yeah, you're always straight up and down, whereas now you're going to be kind of more this way. And
it feels like, and I feel like I typically have pretty good width right in my swing, but it feels almost like I could reach farther.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming around me instead of up.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
Okay. Cool. Oh, that was a bad one.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, contact wasn't great, but that's what happens when you're working on new maneuvers. You just got to get the feel for it. Yeah, there you go.
Way down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can feel that in a lot of different places.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I didn't do it. Can't feel it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. All right. It's like now all my little my toolbox is like freaking out. It's like, what about this? What about that?
Yeah, the good news is you really have, like, if there's 10 things to check off, you had 9 of them.
Yeah.
The problem is you were just exaggerating this over-the-top move, and then you were also standing up out of posture a little bit early. And so
I have a weird comment on
yeah.
this, because I don't know. The last time I played, I think it might have been right before that ladies event where I saw you. And,
yeah.
And I kind of would like, I would go play, and for whatever reason, I remembered John telling me at one point, he was like, move your head back here. And he would have me like do this weird thing with my eyes.
Yeah.
And this kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And that little thing helped, but I don't think about it. It's not really.
Yeah, it's, you know, like Jack Nicklaus would do that a little bit, turn his head to the side. But the main thing is that you're just, as you're swinging through, your eyes stay right there. Like you're looking downrange sideways.
Okay.
Yep, good. Because as simple as it is, it has a big effect on your path and your timing and everything.
Yeah.
But it's just an important thing to not, you know, to not just take for granted. You got to stay in that posture through impact.
So yeah, I think I kind of look up ahead.
Yeah.
Get that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Good one. Yeah, and then like you're feeling, there's that much bigger extension. So your back and your ribs and your arms are fully coming all the way through now. Whereas before they would kind of hit the ball and then they would come to an end.
Stand up, yeah.
Whereas now your hips and your shoulders and everything are keeping on stretching all the way through.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
Wow, that's cool. Okay.
Good. That's good.
Cool.
What are your thoughts or questions on this? Like how does it feel good? How does it feel bad?
No, I mean,
the benefits you've seen.
I think it feels good. You know where I can feel it, which is like so weird? I can feel it right here. And I don't know if it's really tied to it, but maybe it's because because I feel like when I stand up, you know, like also even kind of being under, like I've come up a lot in my life. So I don't know if it's like keeping me down. But that's just really interesting. But I don't know, it feels good. I mean, eventually I think I want to try it with like a driver.
Well, let's do that. We'll finish up this kind of this lesson on your swing and just holding this posture and see what it feels like with a driver too. Yeah, that's
JT,
really good.
Like Justin Thomas, I feel like he does that look all the time.
Yeah.
Never been told that.
And it's really cool the first few times you do it to actually see the ball coming out of like this different, from your eyes looking sideways, it kind of comes out of the chute. And I think of it correlates to like putting. If I'm standing up over a putt and let's say I have a left to right breaking putt, I go through, I want my head to do this on the line of the putt. You don't go like that and then watch your putt from up here, you're down there. So it's very much similar to the putting.
Okay. Got you.
Yep.
I didn't maybe take a full but I could feel myself do it.
And it can help with alignment too. Like, you know, let's say you've got a particular shot where sometimes when it's a blind shot or you got to hit over a tree, sometimes it's hard to pick a line. But if you stand up over it and you set your club and you trace your eyes to, you know, like in this case, from here to that ball, and then from that ball to that flag, when you trace your eyes down that line, it really helps your body lines get aligned better. So your eyes are going track all the way down there. And then as you're looking downrange, your eyes are returning to the same position. Yeah, there you go. Good one. Yep. Yeah, so that'll be a different feeling for you, and let's try a couple drivers and just see what it feels like there too.
Sounds good. Yeah, it's like totally interesting.
Yeah. And you know, these are small things. You're a really good player already. What we're trying to do is We don't want to clog up the mechanism with a bunch of new swing thoughts or whatever, right? So this has to be really simple, practical, something that you can apply right away to your game, something that you can see results.
And you know, it's kind of nice that it produces the right thing without thinking about that thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Because I feel like I just think so much about this part.
Yeah.
That I'm not thinking about these other parts.
Right.
Right there.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, and that's always for me, that's the last thing I want, is to have a golfer, especially a competitive golfer, start thinking about stuff back here.
Right.
If it's through the ball and after the ball, the intention is here.
Positive.
Whereas if you're thinking about constantly all the stuff that needs to happen back here, you're never actually thinking about where you're trying to hit the ball. So I never like to work on backswing. Like I always say, the backswing never hits the ball. So let's not spend too much time worrying about the part that doesn't hit the ball. Let's worry more about the part that does hit the ball, which is more the follow-through side.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So let's tee it lower.
A little lower?
Yeah, because the first few times you do this, you might pop it up a little.
Oh, hit it.
Because your
body,
your body's going to come through a little lower.
Okay.
So we'll tee it just a little bit lower. Yeah, just finish and go all the way that way. Yep.
Like that?
Yep, just holding that just a little bit longer. And it won't feel, because of the length of the club. So like, let's say you were doing this with your shortest club. You've got the shortest and the longest. There's a 10-inch difference, right? Well, keeping my head here I might feel like it's vertical right here.
Yeah.
But on a driver, I'm already up a little. So the amount of twist in my back is going to be less. Like I don't have to go way down on a driver.
Yeah.
I can just have a tiny little pivot and I'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Weird.
Yeah. It will definitely feel a little weird because you're effectively kind of overdoing it right now.
Yeah.
And with the driver, like, it may be the least. Like, let's say we videoed your driver swing, your eyes might have been just right where they need to be.
Oh yeah.
Whereas on an iron, they were coming out.
I
So
gotcha. Well,
don't overdo it.
Okay.
Just feel like as you go through, yeah, you can clear through and you're looking at the world a little bit sideways. Yeah, there you go. Good swing. Yeah, and you'll just have, I think the main objective is, like, we want a lot of power, but we want the power tied to the accuracy. And if your posture's coming out mid downswing, you're going to have power, but you're going to lose accuracy because you don't have the same starting position to your ending position.
Right.
So that's all you're working on here.
And I've gotten away with it because I've got timing. I'm a little athletic. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, I can feel it and hurry to change it.
Totally. Yeah.
But it's funny though. I don't know how I've ever done it, but yeah, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, just overdoing it a little.
Yeah.
That's okay. When you learn something new, perfectly okay to overdo it just a little.
Right.
So on this one, when you come through, don't look at the world like a vertical sideways. Let your eyes come up, but just keep your head just a little bit leaning.
Do you think you could show me the right place to be?
Yeah. So go to your follow through and hold. All right. So stay right there. So like some of those, you were like way over here. You could feel the crunch. I would say that's fine, right? Because this would be vertical.
Oh yeah.
This is just a little off of that. You don't have to go all the way.
All right. Try a slightly normal one.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. And you should just feel like you're coming through to just a little bit more comfortable location on the other side, right?
Yeah.
So let's do one more, and then we're just going to wrap up this video. And
Okay,
what are your comments on the driver How does it feel? What do you like? What are you uncomfortable with right away?
I mean, obviously it feels different until you just showed me, like, you know, that it's really not an exaggerated
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
That last one felt a lot better.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Overall, it feels pretty good. I don't feel like I'm manipulating a ton of stuff, so that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just kind of adding another piece to it.
Yeah, just a little more refinement.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you said something really important there about being athletic, and one thing I'll pass on that I think is really important is those who are athletic a lot of times rely on their athleticism. So I do trick shots and I played all kinds of sports, so I know I can have good hand-eye coordination, I can hit the ball. I've always been a good ball striker, but what changed my game and helped me go from this level to this level was I decided that I wasn't going to rely on all my athleticism to get me where I wanted to go. Right. I actually needed some discipline. I needed to have some good posture, some good setup, all that kind of stuff. Once I learned that I could refine my mechanics, my abilities, my athleticism just magnified all the good stuff I was doing, rather than your athleticism having to make up for your shortfalls, right?
Yeah,
so
that's really good information.
So when you're, you got to feel like, okay, this is something important. I got to get myself set up. If I expect all of my power and timing and athleticism to work through this space, I just need a little bit more awareness that when I come through, I should be here just a fraction longer, rather than take it for granted and just kind of like hit and then end up wherever you end up, right?
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Right, let me do a couple.
So don't tax all of your athleticism. Like, be good enough with everything that your athleticism actually makes it shine.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. Good. Cool. All right, well, we'll wrap this one up.
Okay, cool.
What's your big takeaway, I guess, from that?
I don't know. I mean, I would just say,
look at the world sideways.
Look at the world sideways for sure. And I just love how simple that is. And it's something I can just work on. I feel like you could work on it at home or in the pro shop, when I'm working and, just kind of get that feeling of like, okay, like if I'm here, I'm going to come through.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you've seen me before a tournament or whatever. You'll see me take my saber. I'll put it across my shoulders so you can take this. I do this a lot at home. Yep, so just take that, and what I want you to do is turn this way and look at your shadow. So flip all the way around, and then maybe step on this side of the alignment stick.
Okay, deal.
Look at the shadow. So you're going to turn slightly this way so that the sun is perfectly behind you. Right, so there you go.
Great.
Now, turn in your backswing and watch where you end up. Yep, and then go all the way. So what you're trying to do is like flip, 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 very symmetrical. So you're not trying to have a lot of up and down movement. So you can tell on a normal follow through for you before, you would go to the follow through position and then you would come all the way up to there. Exactly. Yeah, whereas this is just going to help you work. It's a good core exercise. Cool. It kind of gets you to like spinning. It's like you can do it like seated, when you take like a medicine ball and kind of work your core.
Yeah.
Well, this is like you're standing up. When I was younger, I would take the barbell, like the bar for the free weight. I wouldn't put any weights on it, and I would just put the weight over my back, and then I would stand and I would spin here, and that bar would point right there, and then I would spin this way, and the bar would point right there.
Oh, cool.
So my hips and everything started to learn how to kind of move and be symmetrical. So you could grab the bar at the gym or like a broomstick, something like that, and then it just reminds you that this is kind of the center of the motor. So there's something there that's repetitive, and then athletically it frees up your mind to just go ahead and put the speed through the ball.
Cool. I like that. That's cool. And the cool thing about the shadow is you have to keep your head down. So I couldn't peek up and stand
right.
Anyway.
Exactly.
It's kind of a win-win.
Shadows, mirrors, patio windows at your house, whatever, you can get a good reflection, and then you kind of watch just to make sure that you're symmetrical. Now, your posture with a short club, you're going to be bent over more. And your posture with a driver, you're going to be up taller.
Gotcha.
So it's like on a wedge, your helicopter is just going to spin more vertical, and on a driver, it's going to be a little bit more horizontal.
Okay.
But that's where your posture starts, so that
Right.
just stay where you start. Now, if you start here, you should go here on the backswing, and then you should be here on the follow-through. That shouldn't change mid-swing.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome. Cool.
Excellent.
Thanks, Craig.
Yeah, you're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
All right.